Today, it finally begins, the first gold medal event in this FIS World Nordic Ski Championship. Who is the fastest cross-country skier in the world? We will get that answer in a couple of hours. Welcome to Seefeld in yet another beautiful sunny day. And here's the facts regarding the weather in Seefeld today. 7 degrees, 5 kilometers per hour wind. That's nothing to worry about. And joining us today as well, our cross-country expert, the former world champion, Devin Kershaw. He's been like a kid all day. Like in Christmas, can we open the presents? Because this is your highlight of the championship,
this
the sprint.
Is, oh yeah, sprint day, sprint day, sprint day. I mean, it's the big one. It's not quite as much carnage as a monster truck rally, but this is going to be fast, furious, and it's going to be packed with adventure.
Okay, and if you look at the track, it's so fast.
Oh,
the conditions today?
Oh, it's incredibly fast. The sun is shining. That's getting that greasiness into the snow. It's been sun has been shining for the last few days. You can't get more perfect conditions for a cross-country skate sprint.
This is the track for the ladies. Is it what's 1.2 kilometers? Is it easy? Is it hard? Is it what is it?
This is an easy track. Don't be fooled by the elevation profile at the bottom of our screen here. It's only 1.2 kilometers. Space is at a premium. Last year it resulted in a tie. Caldwell, Van der Graaf tied for the win, so it's an easy one.
All right, and one of the favorites today. This is the one to watch.
Oh, Stina Nilsson, the big question mark of this championship. She pulled a muscle in her hamstring. She's looking so good here. She's smiling. She's calm. I tip her to win. I really do.
But she hasn't competed in a month. She tore her hamstring in Otepää. We haven't seen her since. What kind of thoughts does she have going into this championship?
That's hard to know. You know, I really expected her to be very, very nervous yesterday. But in all the pressers we've seen, she's been smiling the whole time. The Swedish team looks relaxed. And I mean, she was injured, but before that, remember, Karsten, 4 skate sprints, 4 wins, back to back to back, 2 back.
Yeah, but how much has he lost in 1 month?
That's the real question. I mean, that's the $1 million question, or the $10 million question here today. The fans are all here, packed in the stands to see. I mean, she's been the best sprinter of the world prior to her injury. Let's just hope it wasn't as serious as it first looked in Otepää, and the mark is on her.
What would happen if she is going to the finish line? She know that she tore her hamstring 1 month ago, pulling her leg across the finish line. Will she do the same?
Maybe she's going to try and attack really, really hard today and not wait till a lunge. Just really try and break the field apart and come across the line alone. I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, if you see the image of her stretching across the line in Otepää, she was doing the absolute splits, and hopefully it's not a gymnastics competition for her today.
She's not alone competing in this sprint qualifications. 113 athletes. Let's look at the other one that you think maybe is going to go to the podium.
Oh, absolutely.
5 of them.
Oh, there's 5 that I've picked out here. We have Jessie Diggins, Sophie Caldwell. Jessie's coming off her first win last weekend in Koing. Sophie Caldwell, plenty of podiums. Maya Dahlqvist, let's not forget her. It's not all about the Stina Nilsson show. You can't go on without saying Maiken Kaspersen-Falla, reigning world champion. And Christina Schista, back-to-back world junior champion. She's been talking some smack. She's been talking some smack, saying that Stina Nilsson's worried about her, and now would be her chance to see if she can do it on the big show with the big girls.
And we saw her the other day practicing in the sprint course, and the power she had up that hill. I mean,
oh, yeah, and this course is tailor-made for an athlete like Schistad. She's tall, 186 centimeters tall, and skis so smoothly, takes up a lot of room, which is so important on a sprint track like this. Because it's so short and tight, the more space you can take up, that guarantees you, or doesn't guarantee you, but it helps you find that perfect line around the course. It's a good one for Schistad, it is.
And Jessie Diggins, she won the last race before the championship in Konya, and the way she won it. Because she was 40 meters behind with 200 meters to go, or 300 meters to go.
Oh, yeah. Like, there is nobody grittier in cross-country skiing, man, woman, or child, than Jessie Diggins. You know, her last name is Diggins, and she really digs in. And sadly, Sandra Wingvald I was sure she was going to secure the first win for Germany in I don't know how long, but right at the line, Diggins gritted that out. World Cup win. That's great for confidence coming into the World Championship sprint today.
Okay, and Falla, we have to talk about her. Reigning champion, could she defend it?
Oh, she could defend it. I mean, she's coming off a couple wins now, too. So Falla is an amazing athlete. We saw in Lahti, the course in Lahti is quite a bit more difficult than this course now. It breaks my heart to say this, but Maiken, you've won a lot of races. Today, I think you're going to be in tough with the likes of Skistad, Diggins, and Nilsson. But how can you ignore the reigning world champion? It's going to be so exciting, and that's why it is like Christmas morning for me. I'm thrilled to be here with you, Karsten.
Hope you get a nice present. Okay, we'll know in a couple of hours. Let's go to our reporter, Gunhild Tolnen. She's out now in a warm-up zone, and I'll guess with a lot of nervous athletes and coaches.
We are just outside the arena, and we're standing by the vans where the waxing of skis and all the preparations have been done. And these are the coaches for the Norwegian team. What are your expectations for today?
My expectation is for sure we can get for good results and no crashes. I'm a little anxious or afraid of that. There can be a crash in the high-speed downhill, but I think the guys are in good shape, so I hope for the best.
Because we can see really high speed today?
Yeah, about between 50 and 60 kilometers an hour, so it will be in cross country. I will say that that's a high speed.
How prepared are you for the sun and the warm weather and what it's going to do with the snow today?
We have been here some days now, so we have seen what the sun can do during the day, and the waxers are really prepared for it, and we have been testing skis, so we're prepared. But probably the speed in the snow will be a bit slower to the finals than in the prologue.
The athletes are coming out to the vans now. Are they nervous ahead of the sprint today?
Yeah, for sure they are nervous, but they're also looking forward to this event, so hopefully the best.
Okay, best of luck to you. Thanks for talking to us. Maiken Kaspersen Falla, one of the Norwegian girls, is the reigning champion in the sprint. But according to her, she's only an outsider for today's competition.
I think there will be many favorites tomorrow. The American girls, Sophie Caldwell, of course, Stina Nilsson, Jonas Sundling, Maja Dahlqvist, all the Swedish girls, Jessie Diggins. Yeah, it's, of course, the Norwegian team. I think we have good opportunities, early possibilities tomorrow. And to succeed, I think you have to really do your best and have a good day, and like everything has to be perfect, and then you will succeed.
That was the reigning world champion. She's trying to defend her title here today at Seefeld. But in the prologue, what's important?
What is so important in the prologue is to keep your head. You don't want to rush. Everyone says sprint, and they think of Usain Bolt just like ripping down the track. That is not the cross-country sprint prologue. You have to ski with low shoulders. Every push you have has to be powerful. You have to find the right line around the course. But more importantly, breathe, be calm, and ski with big power.
Okay, but the waxers today, because it's quite hot, 7 degrees. It will be maybe 8 or 9 until we start. Will that affect the skis?
Of course it affects the skis. As it gets warmer, the humidity comes up through the snow. The snow gets a little greasier, like I said earlier. But at the same time, all the waxers are going like this, thanking the God above for the fact that it's a skate race, not a classic race. It's pretty straightforward to wax for skate skis in this condition.
Okay, but the winner will then have an advantage when they pick the heat. Is it important to win the prologue? Or is it just more for your own self-confidence?
You know what? Really, winning the prologue is a little bit of a flex on your competitors. It's like, yeah, I came here to play and I'm in good shape. Picking the heats, as long as you're in the top 4 or 5, that really helps a lot. I mean, to win the prologue really is a confidence boost.
You see the Swedish flag here. They have a really, really strong team. So strong that Ida Ingemarsdottir, one of the best sprinters in the world, she's out of the team since the reserve.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The change of the guard here in the Swedish team. You have Sundling, you have Dahlqvist, you have Stina Nilsson. They are so strong. They're deep in the sprint. They have shown this year that they are absolutely the team to watch in the skate sprints especially. So I'm sure there's a lot of nervous butterflies in that Swedish wax truck and out on the course.
But you also heard the Norwegians, they were so afraid for falling, to breaking a pole, that to do something that's not supposed to do in the sprint.
Yeah, and exactly. What you heard there, Arl, talking about handles more on the men's sprint because you're coming off a pretty steep hill and then bombing down, going 60 kilometers an hour. Space is limited out there. Those boys don't give a lot of room. They've got sharp elbows, so crashes could happen, and I think that's what Arnold was talking about. With the women's course, I'd be surprised if we saw a lot of crashes. The speed's a little lower as far as like the top speed, but of course, the speed of time, the time it takes for those athletes to get around the women's course is going to be a lot less than the men's.
We saw a lot of Swedes here in Seefeld, and we'll be right back with the sprint qualification. The favorite, Stina Nilsson, she has jersey number 16. She's ready.
Yeah,
so are we.
Yeah, we are ready.
Taylor racing for Great Britain, going off number 48. She's going to be very, very hard pressed to get in the top 40 because it is such a quality field. Everyone now wants the sprint title, and the Molly hasn't been in that long. Got it in 2001, and of course this is the 10th sprint title. Women go first, then the men, and Mike, the women's course at 1.2 kilometres is pretty short.
It's very short, and the profile-wise, it's actually very easy. I can't think of another sprint competition for the women at World Cup this season that has been easier than this, and that might allow some other connotations. That might allow someone to stick in the slipstream or leave it till the final 10 metres, and this course really does set it up for a final 10 metres dash. We may see 3, 4, 5, or like last year at the run out here, Caldwell and Van de Graaf shared the lead, so a very tight finish today in the finals.
Well, two things stuck out to me, having had a look through as many of the statistics as I could. The track here is fast. 2:28 was the slowest qualifying time last year in the pre-World Championships. The course has been extended a little in the finish, which makes it better for those who have a strong finish. But the conditions here today are very, very quick, as we heard in the preview. And so I expect 2:25, probably the slowest required to go through. The other thing, Mike, it's not only generally this year 4-5 seconds between the fastest qualifier and the slowest, so there's not a lot to play with.
Yes, and Devon alluded to the fact that this mad dash here to qualify into the top 30, it's about giving your best, but trying to maintain focus, breathing, technique, balance. Easy to talk about, difficult to do when you really want to get through into the top 30.
And the other stat that really stood out for me, 9 sprints this year, only once has the fastest qualifier in the women's gone on to win.
Well, so we're an interesting stat as Makieva gets it underway. She's experienced, but only ever one World Cup victory in her career, and that was in the sprint competition.
And only 15 seconds in between each of the starters, so it's all action out there on the tracks. Anna Maria Lampic of Slovenia, the second to go, 25th in the World Cup standings. Didn't race last time out in Konya, and she'll be followed by Greta Laurent of Italy. Certainly she's got a chance. She was 9th here last year. If she makes the semi-finals, who knows what might happen. And the Italians really pinning their hopes on Pellegrino in the men's race a little later on. Katja Wisnar going number 4 for Slovenia. She made the final in Davos. She made the final in Otapa, which was actually a classic sprint. So we'll see how she goes. And Mike, with the faster conditions and that very fast descent into the finishing straight, this surely is all about limb speed.
It is about tempo, the frequency up the two climbs, and especially the climb, 200 meters before the finish. You really need electric pace up there, especially when it comes to the heats, semi-finals and finals.
Lara Gimler away for Germany. This is Natalia Neprayeva, who's doing very well in the overall World Cup standings, 6th in the sprint standings. Had a good race in Otapa likewise, but again, that was a classic race. and we'll see how she goes today. Ski preparation absolutely essential. Now, number 7, lucky number 7, the defending world champion, Maiken Caspersen-Faller, never really pushes too hard in the qualification, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with her. You just can't afford to play games, though, in the qualification.
You can't. You mentioned it earlier. I think we might be looking at 8.9 seconds separating the top 30. Depends if we have a runaway dynamic pace setter, should I say.
Sevicek for Slovenia did very well in Dresden, but that was a flat course and slightly different to the one we have here. Tyrrell Udnes-Veng, the Vengs sisters are in, and of course we've got Lotte Udnes racing number 18. It'd be pretty impressive if both of them managed to get through to the knockout phases.
Well, interestingly, the Norwegian Championships, Tyrrell Udnes, who has just started, she was 4th, and her twin sister took the title at the Norwegian Championships.
Well, Matvieva is going to give us our first impression. I said 2:28. Actually, the extended finish, she would have finished by now, so 2:25 would have been good. 34, 35. Well, that's it's not quick compared to last year's times.
I think we're going to see that improved by at least 6 seconds, Patrick. I think it'll be sub 2:30 by the end of the day.
Well, it nearly is with Lampitz, so that's bad news for Matvieva. 4 seconds outside. I think she's going to be very, very fortunate if she goes through. And remember, the best 30 going off in the first 30 in this qualifying run. What are Italy's chances? 2:33.08, and Laurent at the moment is sitting pretty, but it's a massive field. But really, once the first 40 have finished, then there are unlikely to be too many changes. 113 starters.
Lampitz shaking the head there, not happy, but I think that time will be good enough to get through as a top 30.
Well, you'd expect all these athletes to go through, judging by their World Cup performances. Gimler staying in the shade as much as possible, looking for some slightly faster snow. Has it paid off? No, 3:20 outside, and that's worrying for the German team. Now we're still waiting for number 7, Maiken Caspersen-Faller, out on the tracks at the moment.
1 second behind the ever-fast qualifier, Urovic, the young and very talented Slovenian athlete. Qualifies very fast, doesn't always get through to the final.
Neprayeva, Faller started number 7 and comes across in 2:31.46. I think that's going to be quick enough, to be honest. Equal first at the moment, and don't forget, last year we had a tie for first place, Van der Graaf and Caldwell. Well, it's fast and furious, and we're not seeing a huge amount of the track, but we will do, of course, when it comes to the knockout phases. Tyrrell Udnes-Veng, what she managed to do, 2:33.171. It's going to be close, but I think that will be enough. Faller, the current leader. Next big name, Urovic, Mike, who has produced some stunning qualifying runs this season, has done it again. Well, she was the fastest qualifier in Lahti. She looked fantastic in Konya, and Urovic has just got to learn how to get into the latter stages of the competition.
She's learning, you know, every single race she's learning a little more about strategy, where to put herself. Eide, that's 4.83 behind. It's good enough, without a doubt, I think, for a top 25.
Ringwald, the best of the Germans, 19th here last year, and she goes into 9th spot for now, 2:99. Generally, that should be safe. I think we're probably looking for a margin of 5 seconds between 1st and 30th. The Americans with a very strong team. Caldwell, Bjornsson, Diggins, of course, and Bjornsson going into 8th, 2:43. That will do nicely.
Just trying to find Stina Nielsen. She's in very, very soon, but at halfway she was only 13th, but just 2.2 behind. 2.2 seconds behind at half distance.
Nielsen started 16. Feindrich with a very quick time for Switzerland. We're also waiting for Van der Graaf, who started 19. Sundling will be across the line, who won the second sprint of the season in Lillehammer, her first ever World Cup win. Unbelievable to think that Ingmarsdorf has not made it into the Swedish team. Sundling, 4:35. Now we're getting down close to the margins, but I think she'll be okay.
Look at this, Nielsen. She hasn't quite got the dynamic move she had when she won those 4 in a row before her injury, but I think that looked fine. And I think she's
2.72.
got more to give in the qualifying.
Well, I think she's probably got the confidence to take it easy. Belarukova, Mike, probably the best chance for Russia. I think she's a bit stronger than Nepraeva at the moment. 13th place, 3.94. Don't read too much into the qualifying positions, because, as I mentioned earlier, only once has the fastest qualifier gone on to win. That was Stina Nielsen earlier in the season. And generally, the first three don't even finish on the podium. So Fowler will not like that statistic, as she currently leads.
Veng, 7.13. That's probably on the limit. Now, Jess Diggins should be in soon. She was down in 18th at half distance, so needs to pick up her pace. Should be safe, though.
Well, actually, the fastest time at the moment, 2:30.48, Feindrich of Switzerland. We've got Urvets on 2:31.39, 2:31.46. Here comes Falk, and 0.27. That's very encouraging for Falk. She's in good form. She'll be a danger come the final.
Caldwell, who won here last year, will equally won with Van de Graaf. It's going to be a good time, not quite the fastest.
Good. It looks very, very good. Safely through for Sophie Caldwell, another product of the Stratton Mountain School, where Jessie Diggins comes from. Maya Dahlqvist, she's been on form this season, third in the World Cup rankings, goes top. Oh, look at that time, 2:29.44, the first under the 2:30-minute marker. No wonder she's in the game. Jess Diggins now, how's this looking, Mike? She's still got a way to go.
Looking good. She was off the pace at half distance. She may well have been given the information to pick it up. I think it's safe enough to get through.
4:61. Well, she never really impresses in the qualification. She's a great strategist, and she's also one of those who likes taking on the opposition head to head. Skistad, the new star from Norway, multiple junior world champion. How does that look? She's gone down into 13th place. She says Nielsen's worried about her. I think those two fairly evenly matched. And Victoria Karl of Germany, it's getting close, 24. Lotte Udnes-Veng pushed down into 25th position at the moment, and this is really all about the big names that don't make it through to the final.
Well, this will be on the limit. She's making it for now, may well be pushed down. She can only afford 4 more faster than her.
Well, she started 26th and she's gone into 26th. So last spot to Sobolova. This is Elisa Broca of Italy, 6.63. So the margin's much bigger than they've been in most of the sprint races so far this season. Julia Kern, the 4th member of the American team. This looks pretty handy. Can she keep it under 6 seconds? Not quite, but into 22nd position. I think that might just do it. But often at the Worlds, Mike, we get surprised by some of the later starters in qualifying.
We do indeed, and of course Julia Kern, 11th in Konya. She's come here with confidence, renewed confidence.
29th for Claudel. 8.91. I'm not sure that's going to be good enough. Can the Finns get Liljenperä through into the final? I don't think so. Started 30. She's down into 30. 11.06. I can't believe that is going to be close enough. Lucia Scardoni, she's made the knockout phases on a couple of occasions this year, and I think she's done it this time around, but it's still very, very marginal, Mike.
Well, the margins are tiny, absolutely tiny. At the moment, it's you need to be 8.91 or less to qualify behind the fastest time. So we've got another qualifier, but at the back end, Creel. So looking further down, Patrick, though I can't see too many names that will threaten this top 30.
Yana Tova, is she going to make it? Not quite. Not quite. Her day is over. 10.06 the margin, and still the knockout time is 8.87. 2:38.31. You have to be inside that to have any chance of going through. Mononen of Finland, one of the oldest in the field, and 2:42.82, way outside, a good 5 seconds outside qualifying, and suddenly the standard drops away. You wouldn't want to be in 30th position, which is where Lotte Udnes-Veng is at the moment, Mike.
No, that's on the edge, absolutely on the edge. Yeah, that's good. For now, that's good from Beattie. She'll be worried. She's shaking her head, knows full well that that may be threatened. One more person to get under that time, and she goes out. Will not go further. So it's the heats which come next, and the fastest athletes get first choice of one of 6 groups in which they can choose.
Well, Lotte Udnesveng has now been pushed out of the qualifying slots, which is very disappointing for the Norwegians, but their misery is delight for Canada, because Daria Beattie has gone into 30th slot, 2:37.49, and this could be close for Kaloinen, not quite, 32nd position. Now, this is looking all right from Unterweger.
Much improved.
She's going to be a second or two outside. So close. And a quick look across at the board will tell her all she needs to know. 37th position. Her day is over as far as the racing is concerned. Skinder of Poland won't make it. Anyone else further down the order, Mike, who you think might squeeze through?
Further down, I'm not seeing any standout names who may threaten, but you know what? At World Championships, so often we get some surprises, but FIS points don't normally lie. They give you a very good indication. Brzeziaszkova is one of those names I thought may well challenge, but not today. 42nd position.
Hinchikova of the Czech Republic next to come in. She's going to be 2.5 seconds or so outside qualifying. A 10-second margin, just too much. 8:05 now, the current qualifying time, behind the leader of this event.
Well,
Kova, not bad.
Oh, I thought she was going to make it.
Out.
So close. 9. She's what, less than a second of qualifying through to the top 30.
Dahlqvist, Feindrich, Falk from Sweden, Switzerland and Sweden respectively in the top 3 places. Sophie Caldwell, a really solid qualifying run from the American. She sits in 4th place at the moment. Urovec Mike of Slovenia really came to our notice in Otapa. She looked good in Lahti, she looked good in Konya, but do you think she's still too inexperienced of the knockout phases to be a real danger to the big names?
I do, actually. We saw that in Konya at the weekend as well. She was outstanding throughout the qualifying. Of course, she was second fastest. Then in the heat, she was great. But through to the final, she had no energy left to provide or produce what she had in all the previous run-outs that day. Here's Taylor. It's going to be close. So close, but not today.
12:28, 4 seconds, 4.2 outside the qualifying time for Annika Taylor. 2 British competitors in the men's race a little later on this morning. Andrew Young, who's looking good, sounded confident when we had a chat to him the other day, and of course James Clooney, who's a much improved athlete this year. Phenomenal improvements he's made over the last 18 months. And he puts it all down to the fact that his training has been consistent, and he's had the funding to spend all the time with Andrew Young and Andrew Musgrave.
Yes, I really hope, on his birthday as well today, Andrew Young, I really hope it can go to plan, carry out the strategy perfectly, and I really hope he can make the finals.
2:29.44, the winning time. Welcome back to Seefeld. The women's qualification for the sprint event well underway. We think we've got our top 30 all qualified at the moment. Sitting on the fence, as they sometimes say, in 30th position is Marielle Pulis, who has just gone through for Estonia and pushed Daria Beattie out of the qualifying slot. So that's very disappointing for Beattie. Big names that haven't made it, Mike. Slightly surprised that Lotte Udnesveng didn't go through. The Norwegians will be disappointed with that. Thousands of them here in Seefeld to support these championships. And Kaloinen didn't make it, Soboleva didn't make it, Delphine Claudel of France hasn't made it through. Faller, the defending champion, is. And here she is.
I was so excited to start today. I feel kind of nervous. So I'm really glad we had the opportunity to go to prologue first. And now we will do the quarterfinal, and I think my time was quite good compared to my other prologues this year. So yeah, I'm quite satisfied.
Yeah, good luck in the quarterfinals.
Thank you.
Emma, you did an amazing prologue. How's your thoughts before the finals?
The first was that I do great prologue, and then quarterfinals, and then semifinals, and then finals. I go by step, so that was my goal for today.
I have a quick question for you. How important is it to have Ole Vigen Hattestad being the coach for you ladies? You have made such great improvements in the sprint prologues and in the sprints in general this year.
Yes, this is one big, important thing to have him, because he has a lot of good experience. He's a good athlete. Amazing athlete. So yeah, this is really, really good to have him in team, and I'm glad.
Great. Good luck for the finals.
Thank you so much, Emma. Thank you.
Hattestad, of course, one of 4 Norwegians to have won the Sprint World title. He won back in 2009. Yeah, what a man to have in charge of your sprint team. And as they said, Slovenian women have gone through the roof in terms of improvement this year, particularly Urovets there, whose qualifying is so good, I'm almost thinking it's too good.
It's incredible, and as she says, I like the way she's just looking at it one step at a time, so clearly not stressing too much. She'll give her best, we know that, she always does. And it was quite interesting. She hardly had her breath back before she was grabbed for an interview, but a very good interview and great information.
But Urovets is so fast, Mike, that she can surely start to think in terms of tactics for all the rounds. If you get through the qualifying and the quarterfinals without going 100%, you're in much better shape for the semis and the finals. If you just go step at a time, you're always going 100% just to try and get to the next stage.
Yes, yeah. And Urovets, of course, you cannot have a better coach than Hattestad. He's done everything, what, 13, 14, maybe 16 sprint titles at World Cup and championships. He's got the information, he knows how to get through. So she's learning, she's still young. She will learn with each time she steps out here.
Yeah, she could be the surprise winner of this event today, certainly. Nielsen, would you be concerned? The Swede down in 12th position, 3.7 off the pace. Hasn't raced for a month, so that will have been a rude awakening back to the maximal effort that you put in.
I think, and we talked about this last night, you alluded to the fact Stina Nielsen never really sets the fastest time in qualifying. Now, is that very clever pacing? I think you're right, it is. And I got the feeling that just behind Nielsen, Skistad, the big young star, tall young star from Norway, I felt she was easy, taking it if at all you can. The way she finished, she wasn't killing herself to the line. So I think both Nielsen and Skistad were playing a clever game there, not wanting to push too hard in the qualifying, but guaranteeing themselves midfield and getting through.
So there are 5 or 6 names that stick out. I think we have to pay attention to Diggins, who won the last sprint, although I know many of the big names were missing. Caldwell of USA has looked very consistent this year. She's got good tactics. She might be someone who could walk away with the title. The defending champion, Fowler, of course, not her best, but her form has been going the right way, getting better and better as the season's gone on after a slow start. And then Nielsen with that hamstring injury. I think it's lucky for her that this is a freestyle sprint, simply because your hamstring isn't so important in freestyle as it is in classic.
Yeah, no, and she certainly, there didn't appear to be any wobble, anything out of the normal in terms of her technique with that hamstring injury. And she's such a positive person, she's got over that injury very quickly.
Do you think she'll lunge with the left leg rather than the right leg in the future?
I think she might, but I mean, how do you change that? If you're a footballer and you kick with your right leg, it's very difficult in 4 weeks to become exceptional at kicking that ball with your left leg. But I think I would play that game, stretch the other leg out.
Yeah, it's a bit like jumping off a 2-foot block. You nearly always land on the same foot. For right-footed people, it's generally the left foot. So it's inbuilt. The ski jumpers always land with the same foot forward, so it's going to be very difficult to switch it round.
That is so true. Hey, one athlete I saw in the warm-up, Patrick, Fala, I thought she's got all of her timing, all of her dynamic movements back today. I know she gave that little interview. She's only 2 seconds off. I think she's back to almost her best now. In 6th place qualifying Fala.
And Dahlqvist of Sweden, the fastest qualifier, as we mentioned, 2:29.44, the only athlete to go under the 2:30 marker. And then down the other end, we've got Baranova, who has qualified for the Czech Republic in 28. That's a good effort from her. Skardoni has gone through in 29. And Pulis of Estonia, a surprise inclusion in the knockout phases of the women's sprint. Welcome back to a sunny Seefeld. We've been here, what, 3.5 days now. We have not seen a cloud as yet. Temperatures at night getting down below freezing, around -5, a little colder where we're staying down in the dip, and then warming up to between 5 and 10, 11 degrees during the day. The tracks are in as good a condition as I can remember, Mike, but when it comes to the classic races later on in the championships, I think the technicians are going to have their work cut out.
Oh, I would have sleepless nights if I were a technician thinking about what's to come in terms of classic. And I think the track will be slower for the finals later.
Well, here is Nadine Feindrich, second.
Nadine Feindrich of Switzerland, congratulations on your prologue today.
Thank you. Yeah, it went very well, I think, yes.
You've been sprinting at such a high level the last few weeks. You must bring a lot of confidence up into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I try. Sometimes I have some problems with the tactic and the mental thing in heat, but I try my best, and I see that this season it goes better and better.
Great, well, congratulations, and we look forward to cheering you on in the finals.
Thank you. Thank you.
Feindrich, incidentally, 25th in Lahti, the last World Championships, and instead of qualifying second, she qualified in 29th position, so a big improvement for her over the last 2 years. And as Devon alluded to, her results have been pretty good of late. 4th, 8th, 9th in the last 3 sprints she's done. What do you think she meant by, I have some mental issues with the heats?
Well, I think we looked at that at the weekend in Konya. She was out and out fastest sprinter track time. She qualified in 1st place, two seconds ahead of anybody else. So clear track time, she's excellent. She seems unrelaxed, tense, and a little fearful. I feel when it comes to the heats, it's very different racing. You need to be bold, you need to be pushy, you need to stick to your line. So I think she's a little intimidated when she gets through into the, or with each round that she goes further towards the final in the sprint competition.
And one of the issues here, because the downhills are so fast, they're expecting the women to get to speeds of 55 kilometers an hour. The men will be going over 60 kilometers an hour. Close quarters racing. We saw enough falls in Konya last week. What are we going to see when it comes to the, you know, the semi-finals in particular?
Oh, it's such an easy, when I say easy, no track is easy when you're going maximum, because you're always going maximum, but you're carrying a whole lot of pace today, and I really think we will see some tangles, some broken poles, some falls, because the pack is going to be trying to get to the top of each of these little climbs first. So I think it's going to be a very interesting rest of the day in sprint competitions.
Barami Bayer, who was the last starter in the 5 kilometer yesterday, didn't manage to qualify in the top 10. We thought we might see her. I think she would have had a better chance had it been a freestyle race. 104 off the pace of the leaders. That's still pretty respectable for an Iranian skier. I think she'll be happy with that.
It is, and you know, when you're not at the races throughout the whole season, you're not in the thread, you're not in the routine of for improvement. You need to be around the better people in order for you to improve. So very difficult to compete with the best.
113 starters, so we are getting there. There is no one out there who is going to threaten the top 30, so we know all of our qualifiers. Any of the big names, really only Weng, Lotte Utnes Weng of Norway, who finished down in 32nd position. She was, in terms of being outside the leaders. She was 14 hundredths of a second outside a qualifying time. So I think Lotte Udnesveng will be bitterly disappointed. And those Norwegians that didn't qualify will be saying, I think I could have done that.
And, you know, she qualified basically through winning the Norwegian National Championships in the sprint competition. That was only, what, the 2nd, I think it was 2nd of February. So very, very surprised she's 8 seconds off the pace today. 8.16, in fact.
So if you were selecting a team, would you go on the most recent sprint, or would you look at the various courses that we used during the year and say, this one is most like Seefeld, this is the one that's going to give a good impression? Dresden, for example, was pan flat. There was nothing there. It was all about limb speed. So maybe that's a good indication of what you can do here.
But, you know, I think you're right. I think if you have a small team, with small numbers, that is, that are exceptional athletes, then maybe you could do that. But Norway, you have to maybe set a date, right? This is my our final selection time, where you need to have shown your form, and by winning the national championships you can't do much more. That's your cards on the table, but it hasn't worked out today. You're right, so only 4 athletes entered from Norway and only 3 making it into the final.
The Americans have done pretty well. Sadie Bjornsson is through, qualifying 14th. Jess Diggins is 15. She'll be happy with that. Julia Kern has made it through, qualifying 22nd. And Caldwell, who set the fastest time early on, pushed down to 4th eventually, but only 1.7 seconds off the fastest qualifying time. So all 4 Norwegians have made it through. Sweden have been the big nation in sprinting over the last month, Mike, getting a clean sweep on a number of occasions. Falk has gone through in 3rd. They've got Nielsen qualifying in 12. Further down the order, Jonas Sundling, who won the 2nd World Cup of the season, she has qualified in 20th. And unless I've missed one of the Swedes must have missed out. But they still have Stina Nielsen through, who is going to be a very, very difficult athlete to beat.
Yes, and sorry, my mistake earlier. I said
Dahlqvist has gone through. Dahlqvist, of course she has.
Dahlqvist.
So for all 4 Swedes going through.
A second ahead. Yes, I said 4 Norwegians. I beg your pardon. Of course, there's 5 because the reigning champion, Falla, can enter by right as the reigning champion. So they had 5 today. The only nation to have 5 athletes, but still have 4 into the finals. So a big experience for these athletes from nations which mostly don't have much or any snow coming to the World Championships. They raced out yesterday over 5 kilometers for the top 10 of these athletes to make it through to be allowed to race the 10-kilometer classic.
Jagicic, the last to start, but not the last to finish. And well, I'm sure many of you have felt like this when you start cross-country skiing, when the hills just go on that little bit too long.
Well, I remember these days, and well, do you know what? It's not easy when you've got a limited time on skis, limited time to, of course, in Lebanon to get time on skis.
Now, getting up the hills is one thing when you start. Getting down them, quite another. It could take her a while. This is the finish. This is the last 300 meters of the course, and this is where we think the race is going to be won and lost this afternoon.
Well, the likes of Klerber will be up to, what, 28, 32 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, and he's going to round this corner at over 50 kilometers an hour. Well, a very, very generous applause for the Lebanese athlete, Jiwa Fakhri, and her time under 5 minutes. It's a 1.2 kilometer course. The fastest qualifying time, 2:29. And so she's well, she's still covered the course at just over half the speed of the rest of the field.
Yes, and you can see the balance issues if she were able to glide further, and there she was just in the home straight, taking a tumble straight back up.
Now, performances like this, Mike, you know, it's great that they get involved. Nice to see some British flags in the background, but from yesterday's race, there were some athletes there that I felt had never ever put cross-country skis on their feet.
I think maybe the clister, everyone cheering, everyone shouting out for Fakri to make it to the line. But it is very difficult. Yes, you can tell when athletes haven't done much time, and it is all about repetition, yes, and time on skis.
Well, she's got the biggest cheer about.
There's a teammate coming over to congratulate her.
It's a long way to come.
Thank you.
Well, we won't be seeing any of that later on this afternoon. And of course, we still have to draw up the groups, and the fastest qualifiers get to choose first. Dahlqvist, do you think she'll go in Group 1? Do you
No,
think?
I think she will. I mean, she'll look at the timings. Her coaches will probably advise her. And I think with that track time of 1:04 faster than anybody, and then you look another 30 seconds back to Hannah Falk, her teammate, I think she'll be confident enough to go for Group 1 and buy herself recovery time.
What about Eva Urvets? She's made a habit of choosing group number 5, which, you know, we're always slightly concerned.
It has puzzled us, but now, you know, with Hadestad giving the advice, he's clearly wanting to take pressure off her. I think we'll see her going for Group 5 again, Urvets. Job done.
Well, for those who didn't finish in the top 10 of yesterday's race, the qualification, that is their lot, because they're not allowed to enter the endurance races. They won't be involved in this afternoon's race. So here are the qualifying positions. Dahlqvist, Feindrich, Falk, the fastest 3. Stina Nielsen, the favourite, down in 12th. Nothing wrong with that, but it's 3.76 is quite a margin. If she was playing games, then she played it very well indeed. And right down the bottom, Baranova, Scardoni and Pulis in 28, 29 and 30. They will be hoping they've got something left for the first round. Well, what a day. The crowd's starting to come in. There's still a few seats in the tribune opposite the commentary boxes. But I think when it comes to the knockout phases, it's going to be a full house here in Seefeld. Let's hand back to the studio.
113 athletes to the start, and now it's 30 left for the knockout stages. What are your impressions after the prologue, Devin?
Well, now the competition can begin in earnest in only a few hours here. So it was a great prologue. It was fast like we thought it would be, well under 3 minutes. That flat course, I was a little surprised that it was 8-second spread. To be honest, I thought it would be a little tighter today.
Okay, well, and you also talked about it during the interview with one of the Slovenian. Olav Hattestad, he can now punch himself on the chest because he has 4 within top 10 as a Slovenian coach.
Oh yeah, Olav Hattestad, I tip my hat to you, buddy. You obviously are doing a fantastic job with the Slovenian women. A little over 2 million people live in Slovenia. Sweden, 2 in the top 10. Norway, 1 in the top 10. Slovenia, 4 in the top 10. So what a great story.
All right, but let's look at the quickest one in the prologue, Maja Dahlqvist from Sweden. She just passed right through here, didn't want to talk to anyone. She was so in the zone. Does it mean anything for her to win the prologue, or just self-confidence?
It's hard to know, you know what I mean? She's been a little all over the map with her prologues earlier this year. At the same time, she has qualified in the top 15 in most prologues. This season, she's been amazing in the sprints. 5 World Cup podiums, 3 of which have come in skating, like today. So the confidence she's taking with her for winning the prologue is great, but with that confidence comes responsibility, and now the real race begins, and she's wearing bib 1, so it's going to be pretty fun to follow along.
Yeah, and bib 2 is Nadine Fendrich from Switzerland. Were you surprised that she was second today?
Oh, she's been so good. She's been coming up better and better and better, especially in these prologues. Nadine Fendrich has done such a wonderful job this year. She's coming into these championships in great shape. We saw that last week in Konya. To be second in a prologue here, she's taking great amounts of confidence with her. What a great story for Switzerland.
And of course then Hanna Falk, number 3, another Swede. They have first and third. Is it a power demonstration from the Swedes on the prologue?
What did I tell you, Karsten? The Swedish women...
Yes, you're the expert.
Yeah, no, but the Swedish women have been absolutely phenomenal all year. Classic sprints, skate sprints, it doesn't seem to matter. They're all over the top of the results sheet, and I would not be surprised if they're all over the top of the results sheet when this competition ends and the medals are handed out. Falk, great prologue from her, Dahlqvist, and Stina Nilsson is 12th. I mean, you're right there. You just have to make it in the top 30, then the race starts. So Stina Nilsson didn't want to talk to us. She looked a little tense.
Yeah, but she smiled. She knows, no, sorry, we'll do that later. So but you think it was okay for her just to get through the first competition since Otope?
Oh, yeah. I mean, she must have some butterflies in her stomach. There's no question you're a little nervous after you haven't had a competition in a month. And then everything. She turns on the TV. She goes on her computer, reads the Swedish papers. She's on Espresso and whatever. And it's just all about Stina.
Okay, let's hear from the winner of the prologue, Maja Dahlqvist.
Maja Dahlqvist, congratulations. You are the winner of today's qualification. How do you feel today on this first racing sprint day?
Thank you. I felt really good today, and I have good skis and good body and nice weather, so it was really fun to see the qualification today.
And now the upcoming heats as well. What are you hoping for there? What's your tactics and strategy?
I want to be in front of the heat, so yeah, we will see how I will get that so far.
Yeah, we will see how that goes.
Yeah.
But anyway, we wish you best of luck and congratulations so far.
Thank you.
Only 1 out of 9 fastest qualifiers has gone on to win a women's sprint this year. I'm sure Dahlqvist is painfully aware of that. Now, time to choose the groups. Mike Laurent going for 3. Cyril Ludnesveng selecting group 4.
Vijnar has the next call up to select her option. Of course, 5 heats. She's going for group 1. That's very fearless and confident to go early to buy herself recovery time. Lampic, not quite sure which way to go. Closed her eyes and made a swipe at it.
Heat number 5, interesting move. Fala goes for heat 2 with Nepraeva. Well, normally heat 1 is the first to fill up with the favourites.
What do you think? 5? Oh, good. She's going earlier. Urwitz, normally she selects group 5. I'm so happy to see her grouping 2.
The hesitation there, Mike, would suggest that the coach had not given her instructions as to which one to go for. Caldwell decides that group 1 is best, and the way it's looking at the moment, that's not a bad group to be in.
It was Feindrich next to make the call. Interesting, Falk going for group 3. I thought she might try 1 or 2. Feindrich group 3 as well. Dahlqvist, group 1, no, group 4. Wanting an easy ride.
Well, there you see the rankings at the moment.
So Nielsen, what? I would reckon 1 or 2. She normally adopts that strategy.
Well, there's some slightly strange psychology going on here, Mike. The general feeling is if you go group 1, you get a bit more time to recover and you're guaranteed a slot in the first semi-final. Skistat goes group 1, so Caldwell, Vijnar, Nielsen, Skistat, that is a strong group, and that shows confidence for a youngster to line herself up alongside the race favourite.
And it's quite interesting. She said earlier that she thought, well, Nielsen should be frightened of her. She's taken the exact same group. Intimidation, fearlessness, but buying herself longer recovery time if she makes it through to the semi-finals.
Ringvald goes for heat 5 along with Jessie Diggins. I'm not sure she'll be so happy to be there. Remember, the most you can get qualified from one group is 4, and on a number of occasions this year the first heat has been the fastest and 4 have gone through from that heat. It could turn out to be that way today with Caldwell, Vijnar, Nielsen all there to set the pace. Gimler goes for 3. She's up against Feindrich, Falk, Laurent. still not easy. Two of the top 3 fastest qualifiers in there.
Sundling, I think that's sensible going early, although she was ranked 20th. Look at heat 5, Patrick. Normally it's this, on paper, weakest league. In other words, the lowest numbers, but Lampic 7th, Diggins midfield, and Ringvald, who showed such good form at the weekend, finishing 2nd in Italy.
Van der Graaf, who won here last year, down in 21st position in the qualifying today. She's gone for Heat 5. What will Julie Kern of the United States go for? She fancies Heat 5 as well. A lot of these women saying, OK, semi-finals is fantastic. I think that's the general feeling there.
Matvieva, Group 4. She didn't want to risk going up to Group 2 or Group 3, and especially Heat 2, a very strong heat that is. With bib 5, 6, 9, 20, and now 24.
Victoria Karl of Germany.
There's no choice, no choices left.
So the last few athletes from today's run, Krell, Baranova, Scardoni and Pulish. Does it really matter? It's a difficult one to go for. There's class in every single heat. Heat 5 still is pretty easy. Krell, I think, is going to struggle in heat number 3. Baranova goes for 5, fancying that as her best option. What will Italy's Scardoni? She's only got 1 or 2.
Group 2. Indecision. Now Group 1.
Yeah, why not get towed along by some of the fastest skiers out there? And Pulis, of course, goes for Heat 2. So there's the lineup in the women's knockout phases of this World Championship sprint. And Urovitz has gone for Group 2, which is interesting. Usually she opts for 5.
Welcome back to Seefeld, where we are, well, soon ready for the prologue for the gentlemen. We are 135 to the start, and only 30 go through to the knockout stages. Let's look at the track, because this is another track than the latest had. This is much tougher.
Oh, way tougher. If you see here, 1.5 kilometers it stands there. On the start list, it says 1.6, so it's hard to know who to believe here. If you look at the elevation profile, similar start to the women, but then look at that giant hill. That is a big climb that comes early, and then you're screaming down the other side at over 60k an hour, and then that fast and furious run in. There's only one good line through there to see who becomes the world champion, but first you got to get through the first prologue.
Okay, and the reigning champion is Pellegrino, and you have him together with Klæbo for today's one to watch.
Oh yeah, I mean, Johannes Klæbo, Federico Pellegrino, absolutely the two big bosses of sprinting. Johannes Klæbo, Olympic champion, wins pretty much everything he puts his eyes and sights on. And then you have Pellegrino, skate sprint, not specialist because he was also silver in the Olympics last year. But these are the big boys of sprinting, and it's going to be a battle royale today against both of these big boys.
And the last time they two met head-to-head was in Lahti. Klæbo won.
That's true. And you know what? If you look at the head-to-head stats, Klæbo wins most of those battles, but I would never, ever count out the reigning world champion.
Yeah, and Pellegrino won in Konya without Klæbo after breaking his pole, so he has confidence.
Oh yeah, and that's when you break a pole, still in the final, that's quite the presentation of power. There's no question. Pellegrino's ready. We heard from him yesterday. He looks relaxed. He seems great, and the first obstacle is the prologue, which is getting going here very soon.
All right, that was 2 of them. You see Pellegrino here, that was 2 of them, but there's more places on the podium. There's a lot of guys who are, well, outsiders here.
Oh yeah, there is a big group of fighters. I've picked out 5 here. Lucas Chavana, a great skate sprinter. Sindre Skar, he's been in phenomenal form all season. Finn Hagen-Krogh, a little up and down this season, but the last 2 competitions, total beast. Richard Zhuv and Gleb Rativik, the big Russian. I mean, the Russians are here to play too, Karsten. You know, they're really strong athletes.
And you haven't even mentioned people like Iversen or Ustyugov.
Yeah, Ustyugov, of course. Listen, there's too many good guys. Sit back, enjoy. This is going to be an amazing day of sprinting.
Yeah, jersey number 1, Theodor Peterson of Sweden. We are soon ready for the first starter in the prologue.
So here we go, the all-important qualification for the sprint finals later on today, and it's Sweden who get it underway with the giant of a man, Theodor Peterson from Umeå. He finished 8th in Lahti in the last World Championships. And the course for the men, as you saw, just that little bit longer, 1.6 kilometres, an extra 400 metres, 200 of which are straight up one of the steepest hills here in Seefeld. Skor, who's looked fun, he's looked on very good form of late. He won in Dresden, he was on tremendous form in the Norwegian Championships, and he gets an early start in the men's run. 3 is Jovian Hediger of Switzerland. And the Swiss will be excited after Feindrich's performance in the women's.
Very much so. And in the men's field, Patrick, yes, we saw the women separated by 8 seconds, just over 8 seconds. I think on this track it might even be less, maybe 7, maybe 6 seconds for the men.
Finnhagen Krogh with 8 World Cup wins to his name. Can he add a world title to his list of honours? It's going to be tough. Only 10th in the World Cup rankings at the moment. Looked a steady start from Krogh. This man, what sort of form is Sergei Ustiugov on? 2 years ago, he absolutely blew the world apart with his sprinting and his distance racing, winning the Tour de Ski. Then, of course, you know, had issues, wasn't allowed to race in the Olympics, and we'll see what Ustiugov can produce today. Halvarsen.
He's looking very tense there, I have to say, and I was amazed at how slow and easy Ustiugov started. Clearly he'll open up later. Halvarsen, he's the national champion from just a couple of weeks ago. He's got to be feeling good about his form.
Number 7 is Victor Thorn, another Swede, under 23, so he's got a lot of years ahead of him. What can he do today? Comes from Ulricehamn, where we had a World Cup earlier this season. Starting just after him, the defending champion, Federico Pellegrino, one of the most exciting sprinters in the world. Buster Pole in Konya still went on to win. He will not give up easy.
Andrew Young, the birthday boy, great to see him here. His family are out here. I really hope this goes well for Youngie.
Alex Harvey, 3rd in 2013, 2nd in 2015. Hasn't looked like winning a sprint so far this year, but you never quite know, because his focus has all been about the World Championships, this being his last season. Pedersen up to the top of the second climb. He's nearly home. Another 400 metres to go, and this is where he needs to build the speed to 20, 30, 40, 50 kilometres an hour.
His tempo out of the stadium, Patrick, I watched out our window all the way up into the hills. Dynamic tempo at the start. He really looked laboured at the top of that rise.
Well, we've seen a few of them start steady, Mike, and I think it's all to do with that big climb. If you hit the bottom of the climb and you're already puffing and panting, you're not going to be very quick to the top.
Exactly that. The lactic build-up by the top of the first huge rise, it really takes the sting out of your tail. 3:06. I'm not sure that's going to make a top 20. We'll have to wait and see.
Just looking for the qualifying time.
Skor already has taken 7 seconds out of Pedersen's time.
That is unbelievable from Skor. 2:46.89 was the quickest qualifying time. But as we saw in the women's, the qualifying time some 6 seconds slower than last year. Hediger of Switzerland has to wait and see. 5:11 behind Skor of Norway.
Finnhagen Krogh, he's taken nearly 3 seconds out of Skor. Here's Klæbo.
And now Klæbo has not been anything other than first in the qualifications so far this year. Ustiugov goes into top spot, 2:55.58.
Well, he started so economically, he really pumped it up later, and I think that's a very good strategy.
Klæbo started 16. Won't be long before he's back. We're waiting for Andrew Young to come back down into the finish. He started number 9. He should be in the next 35 seconds or so. Victor Thorn, 2:55.58 from Ustiugov. He's just outside. In fact, exactly the same time. So Ustiugov and Thorn leading the way. Pellegrino, the defending champion. Is he going to break that 2:55? He might just squeeze inside, but it looks good enough for a qualifying slot. Pellegrino into 5th, 0.91 outside. This is closer than the women's.
It's close. Pellegrino, for me, didn't look quite as sharp. Here comes Andrew Young.
Anything
Come on.
2 seconds of that leading time should be enough, but it's going to be a little bit more than that for Andrew Young. He's looking tired. 2:59.54.
That's excellent.
Down into 7th, having started 9.
I think that's
3:96 is usually good enough, but we'll have to wait and see. What about Alex Harvey?
Alex coming into the final straight here, just a few meters to go. Good enough to make it.
He goes into 8. If you're still in the top 25 after the first 40 athletes, that is nearly always good enough to go through. Hamilton of USA, the Americans' best chance, I think, today.
It's going to be this course, Patrick, is allowing the top bracket of athletes to be so tightly packed. That's 10 within, in fact, sorry, the first 6 within 2.9 seconds. Hakalahi normally puts a very good early run time under his belt, but not quite today. We've seen him take the first place. He's not happy with that performance.
Renauget for France, and is he going to squeeze in inside Andrew Young? No, so Young survives that challenge.
Now Kleiber should be coming around the corner very soon at the end of the home straight. Here he comes. De Fabiani, that's really good. 2:37 behind.
Ustiugov certainly laying out his stall today with that qualifying time of 2:55.58. Chanava, one of the best French sprinters, and he's very, very good in the freestyle. So strong.
Yes.
2:57.96, safely through. Good run from Chanava. Here comes Kleibo. What's he going to do today? 2:49.50.51. He's into the last 20 meters now, but Ustiugov might just have stolen the win in the qualifying. And for the first time this year, Kleibo has not taken top spot in qualifying.
Well, now that is very, very interesting. I love the way that Ustiugov paced it, and we saw how strong he was in Konya. Yes, he fell in the first heat, but I think he's the real threat today.
Oscar Svensson of Sweden goes into 11th place. Andrew Young still sitting in the top 12, which is good enough for now. I think he's going to be safe. Iversen, 1.19 outside. Great run from Iversen.
Do you know, with these times, Patrick, in the top bracket, the top 10, still only 2.9 separating them. It's going to be an incredibly tight qualifying, and tactics play such a huge part.
Bolshinov is in a little bit of bother. Down into 17th place, Bolshinov, 7:29. Ustiugov, I must say, he looked fantastic in Konya, and we saw him in the press conference the other day, Mike. He looked so relaxed, having a laugh with the Russian media. I haven't ever seen him as relaxed as that, so I think he's full of confidence.
I think the thing we noticed as well, you know, is like top track and field athletes, they have a little spring in their stride. Ustiugov certainly showed that up in the press centre. Mikey, that's excellent. 2.24, that's an absolute qualifier. Just looking further back, any big names that haven't made it through. At the moment, Bolshinov 7.29. I think that's about on the limit to make it today for the men.
Simic, maybe he will, maybe he won't, but I think 8.43 might be enough. The average this year for the 30th position is 10 seconds behind the winner, Kleibo. But with Kleibo not producing the fastest run, is he holding back, or was he full out, and is he going to be thinking, hang on a minute, I'm no longer dead cert to win this one?
Well, I honestly think it's the course profile, the course layout, which has hauled him back in. You know, it does allow others to close him in. He can't break away as much, I don't think, on this track. He needs steep, short, sharp, steep climbs to put his incredible tempo in gear, and that's not as common on this track today.
Shard should be safe in 20th position at the moment, and only 25 across the line so far. Theodor Pedersen, who started first, has had a disappointing run for Sweden. Sweden selecting Pedersen, Halvorsen, Victor Thorn, and of course Oscar Svensson.
Baldauf, one of the biggest hopes, in fact the hope from Austria. It's not looking too good. What are we looking? 10.06 on the edge. Maybe over the edge.
Well, we've still got James Clunet to finish, Mike. He started 31 and is heading back towards the second climb. and then it will be a quick descent into the finish.
29, he's good. Starega stumbled backwards. He lost some pace there. I think he'll make it. 7.47.
Should be good enough. 30 is Andrew Newell of the United States. We saw Simi Hamilton with a fantastic run. He's almost certainly going through, and Andrew Newell slips into the top 30, but he's now got a nervous wait to see whether he's done enough. Well, that is a wonderful run from James Clooney. How about that? 2:58.66, 3:08 outside the leading time from Ustiugov, and James Clooney some way ahead of Andrew Young. But it looks as though both British athletes are going to make it into the top 30. We'll just wait and see, because obviously only 32 across the line for now, and we had a start sheet of 149 athletes. It's a whopping entry.
It's a huge entry, but of course a lot of from numbers 70 down, unlikely, extremely unlikely to make it. Furger 9:09 on the edge at the moment in 30th position. I think Pensonen may knock him off the edge. And he does, just.
So Furger is out. Novak of the Czech Republic on the bubble right now. It doesn't look as though Kilp is going to squeeze in there. He's still got a way to go, and the tempo slowing. This extended finish, Mike, has made a massive difference. Last year they were still carrying speed from the last downhill. This year it's slightly uphill. It must be, what, 150, 200 metres from the final corner into the finish.
Yes, and maybe we're underestimating or describing the track here by saying there's only two big climbs, but the difficult aspect of this course is there's no rest. Normally, say in Lahti, many other courses, even in Konya, you had a period where you could rest up in the glide for, say, 15, 18 seconds. Here, there's not much. You maybe get 11 seconds, but then you've got to work so hard on the flats, as we saw there, opposite this section into the finish.
Eisenlauer of Germany might just know it's so tight. Fractions of a second separating 25 through to 35. 25 at the moment, 7:29 behind. And then you've really got a second separating the 10 below him.
Zelger, that's impressive. That's going to stay, I think. He's 24th at the moment. I think he'll remain top 30.
Maltsev of Russia.
This is good.
Is he going in? I think he is. He's got a top 20. Maltsev, I think, is safe. And Miyazawa of Japan. We didn't see Miyazawa, but 20th position at the moment. That's a very good run. News on the British competitors. James Clooney is going through. He's in 12th position at the moment, just one behind Simeon Hamilton. And Andrew Young down in 17th. I think he's very comfortable indeed. 3:96 behind.
That's great racing, and that's really sets them up for a tactical heats, and then through to the semis, hopefully through to the finals.
Valias, who's taken a World Championship gold in the team sprint before, down in 41st position, so no chance of adding to his silverware today.
Just 44 coming in next. That's Louis Stadlober, his father taking silver medal in the 15 back in 1999 in Ramsau, and also a gold in the relay. Here he is. Don't think his son is going to make it. He's not into the top 30. 41st, 11.44 behind. So just trying to confirm Austrian athletes. Baldorf we saw coming in earlier. Rankel just 13.14 off, but in 44th position.
Pashazek for the Czech Republic is out, and I suspect he knew that at the interval. Most of the coaches trying to give splits at the top of the big climb. There's not much you can do after that, Mike.
9:29, just outside 9:26. Stretch for the line didn't even help there in that situation. Burry coming in. One Polish athlete already into the top 30. but not another.
9 World Championship sprints have been held before today, and only 4 nations have ever taken the top spot. Norway have won 4 of the 9, Sweden twice, Fredriksson.
Look at this, Patrick. Sorry, Wang has just moved in and he's pushed Storega, the only Polish athlete in the top 30, to 30th.
Lampitt's just missing out. Oh, very, very close. 8:30 behind. Storega actually 7:47 off the pace.
This is good. This is good from Hanneman. 20th. Well done.
So the Americans will be delighted. Hamilton has gone through very comfortably indeed. And Hanneman joins him, 20th position. And that means that Storega is now out, and if anyone else beats the time of 3:02.87, it will be Bolshanov who gets knocked out. So he will be watching on carefully and slightly surprised that his teammate Ustiakov has absolutely blown the field away.
I love the way Ustiakov approached that, very casual. Devin alluding to the fact, shoulders down, remain relaxed, suck in the air, and he just picked his pace up and up and up. Ustiakov, we certainly thought he was going to do something in Konya, but he fell actually in the semi-final.
Brugger of Germany roughly 2 seconds outside the qualifying time. Rösch is too far away to challenge the top 30, so Bolshanov survives for now. I guess when you qualify in 30th, you've got nothing to lose.
You've got nothing at all. Bolshanov, will he remain there? We've had some surprises there. Just trying to see if there's any other threats, or if there are any other threats.
Russia have won this event twice. Kryakov, who won in 2013, and Rochev, who won way back in 2005. Klimin of Kazakhstan, 11.78. Remember the final qualifying place at the moment, 7:29 off the fastest time produced by Ustiakov of 2:55.58. And we should mention Victor Thornmike of Sweden, who's equalled Ustiakov's time. Finnhagen Kroh, early starter, started number 4. He produced a 2:56.11. Halverson is right up there on 2:56.11 as well. Federico Pellegrino, 2:56.49. It's very, very tight, but Klæbo down in 6th, almost a second off the fastest time produced by Ustiakov. So that makes it a very interesting situation for this afternoon. Welcome back to Seefeld. We're only through to start number 78, but we've got a long, long way to go. But we feel that we have our top 30. The man sitting in 30th position at the moment is Alexander Bolshanov. Renauget of France is in 29, and Roman Schad is in 28th position. So those are the men who can't relax quite yet. At the other end of the scale, Ustiakov, Thorn, very, very sharp indeed. They produced 2:55.58. Kroh and Halverson on exactly the same time, 2:56.11. Pellegrino, Klæbo, the two main rivals in 5 and 6. Emil Iversen might look strong. Do you think he would have been better with a classic sprint, or do you think he's got a chance?
I think he has a chance. He's, as you say, his form at the Norwegian Championships, winning the skiathlon, he looked very, very sharp in the sprint. I think he really is a man on form for these championships.
And what about James Clooney of Great Britain?
I think it's outstanding. We had a chat yesterday with Andrew and James, and the feeling was they were so relaxed, and you need to be relaxed for this game.
How was the start of this championship, Federico?
Really good. Here we are. Tough qualification. Now, let us see the battle.
You're surprised that Ustiakov seems to lead the prologue?
Absolutely not.
Good luck in the course.
Thank you.
Yeah, you seem to be the best Norwegian right now in the prologue, Finnhagen. What do you think?
It was tough. When I was halfway up the hill, I thought I was opening way too slow, because
Normally you're going to be quite tired when you're halfway through the race, but I think that was smart. The course is so hard that I needed that extra power on the end.
Tough course.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a hard day.
Good luck in the quarters.
Thanks.
Well, that was an interesting comment from Finn Hagen-Kroll. We actually spotted it at the start, Mike. One or two athletes coming out of the start very conservatively. It is such a big, long climb before they turn to come back in front of the stadium that pacing becomes more of an issue than normal.
It really does, and I think that's where Theodor Pedersen, with wearing bib number 1, the first big race at the championships, he was inspired, he was enthused, and he really went out like a rocket from the start gun. I watched him turning left up into the hills, and I thought superhuman performance, but unfortunately he burnt very high in the lactic and ran out of tempo, and that has cost him dearly. And Bolshinov, you know, sometimes the athlete finishing in 30th, and he's probably just keeping an eye on the clock, watching and waiting to see what's happening. 7:29, he shares that time with Renauger, but Renauger has got 29th position. They share the same time. He's going to make it through, and you can almost say there's less pressure on bib number 30, Bolshinov.
I absolutely agree, but I also feel that this course is too fast for Bolshinov. He doesn't have the high tempo of the Clarebos and the Pellegrinos and obviously the Ustiagos. He's got more power than anyone else out there, but when it's this fast, you can't really use that. If it was slushy, then I think he'd have a better chance of getting into the top 6.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. He's a muscle machine, and the tempo he can skate to probably further up any climb than most other human beings, but you need tempo, you need gear changing, and you need to have good track craft. It's going to be one of the most exciting. When you compare this track to just a year ago in Pyeongchang, there is no comparison in terms of profiles. This is an unusual track, and a lot of slipstreaming will be playing a huge part today. And we may see some surprises. For me, Ustiugov looked impeccable. He was in control, and we know that he has good gear change and great strategy. So he will be a threat for sure. And of course, Pellegrino, Kleibo, they know how it works.
Eddie Dadits for Croatia, 28 seconds down on the fastest times. And Ireland's sole representative, Thomas Maloney Westgard. Well, that's not bad. 1922. I think he'll be pretty happy with that.
I think he will, and of course he was through the Norwegian club system, and one of his parents Irish, so deciding to race for Ireland when he wasn't making it into the Norwegian teams, and you have to be pretty good to make it into these Norwegian teams at World Championships.
Drusis of Lithuania, 31 seconds behind. Just trying to think how far Klæbo will go in 31 seconds. He's around, what? He's probably about 350 meters in that time.
Yes, he'd be climbing up the final climb as Drusis crossed his line. Just trying to see, Patrick, any major surprises. I thought Heidegger may do better. He was only from Switzerland. He was only 8.49 behind, but it puts him down into, what are we, 35th position. Forger, 39th position from Switzerland. Heidegger, sorry, 36th position, 8.49 behind.
Just watching a few of the athletes going up the second climb, the one that leads into the descent into the stadium. And interesting to see, Mike, those who switched to the skate 1 technique early are losing 10-15 meters on the first half of the climb. If you've got the strength to stay in skate 2, it is that much quicker.
I'm wondering, and I think we might see some athletes skate 2ing. That's where you compress the arms on one leg at the same moment. I think we may see some athletes, and I'm thinking Shanova, trying to adopt that to the very high point before.
Ustiugov is one of the specialists.
And Ustiugov, and maybe Bolshinov, he'll just use his brute strength. Maybe that's where he can make his gains. Skender, all of these athletes racing yesterday over 10 kilometers. And that does take some energy away from you.
Now, tell me something about the British setup. James Clooney, fantastic season. We mentioned him earlier on. He's also now being trained by the same coach that has trained Andrew Musgrave for many years. Can a coach really make all that difference?
I honestly think so. It's the system. So the coach, incredible track record as a coach, training one of the best club teams in Norway. He had track records there. He has credentials. He has a system that works. And when James was brought into that from a young age, from what, 16-year-old, he really has evolved and developed up to the class act that he is today. So it's the systems, the quality of repetitions when it comes to sprinting, and a structure that is impeccable. You need perfect skis today to get that kind of time behind, as James has, and Andrew Young, it's only what, 3:08 behind for James and 3:96 behind for Andrew. Equipment has to be great. We know they have good wax technicians now, so you've got a whole structure there that is supporting these two very good performances.
And James has, what, 4 or 5 times this season, I think this is the 5th time that he's qualified in the top 30. Learning how to race head-to-head is a very different game. Initially, when he started qualifying, he never seemed to have the confidence, but each time out, he seems to be getting bolder and better.
He's growing, and he's a very relaxed character. You know, he's just saying, oh, well, just do what my coach tells me, and it's working. So I like that about James. He's not complex, he's not complicated. And the same with Andrew Young. He's just, they'll work and work and work. And, hey, to get in the qualifying 17th and 12th, it's a very good news day for British cross-country skiing.
And prospects of making the semi-finals?
I think the prospects are there. They're real, especially on this course, but you do need a sting on this final section here. So you need to come off this bend, slingshot round if you're in a drafting situation, but now you need incredible tempo, balance and technique to try and push forward of people ahead of you in this final, what, 50, 60 metres.
And that, if anywhere, is where Andrew Young has been lacking. He's a big man, he's incredibly powerful, but when it comes to the last 50 metres, he doesn't have the burst that Pellegrino and Klæbo have.
And that's the factor. If there is a factor missing, I hope it's there today, and I think it will be more so. But remember, in Lahti, Andrew Young missing out by a toenail to make it through to the final.
So the first 100 across the line. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back with the rest of the qualifying. Welcome back to Seefeld. The later starters still getting underway. It is a very big field indeed, 149 starters, and the last 10 or so all raced yesterday in the qualifying, so there'll be some interesting performances coming from the back end of this field. No one's going to get anywhere near the qualifying time, so Bolshinov, I think, can take a big sigh of relief. He is the last to qualify today with a time of 3:02.87. And in fact, what have we got? Some 7-8 athletes all on 3:02. Hackler is there, Wang is there, Zelga is there, and Shard is there as well.
Okay, we're here with Gleb Brutivic. Congratulations on your prologue today. How do you find the course's skiing?
Today it's nice weather. I think it's my skis today working good. It's very difficult race. I think next round was I looking at Sergei Ustюgov winner in qualification. I think it is good for him. It's maybe me working for today's group. It's working with team. It's good luck. All sportsmen today. It's I don't know what to say anymore.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Gleb, and we're looking forward to seeing you in the quarters and beyond.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you.
James, you're now in 12th place. You did a marvelous prologue. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Training has been going really well, so I was really happy. It's such a hard course, and it was really tough.
Where's the worst part of the course?
Everywhere. It's the hill is so hard, and you have to go fast from the start because you're never gonna catch up time on the end bit. So you have to go fast the whole way. That's what's so hard about it.
Next up is quarterfinals. What are your thoughts about that?
I really want to managed to go to semis. I've been really close in World Cup, but I never managed to make it. So today is the day, I hope.
All right, good luck, James. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good work, James. That was
So nice to see James Clooney. If you're wondering about the accent, a little bit of French in there. He spends a lot of time in Norway, and with his skiing career, not a lot of time in the UK.
Well, that's right. And, well, the camps, of course, he's been at Glenmore Lodge each summer, a big training camp there in June, July time. So, and a lot of travelling. As an athlete, you're travelling so much of the time to the best locations. Livigno is used often for roller skiing and for skiing. So a lot of travelling. But, yes, of course, mainly French. But
which group do you think he'll choose?
I'm just thinking the French team may well want him back. James, I think he'll go for group 2 or 3. I would imagine, unless he's getting advice from his coaches to go 4 and 5. I would say with that aim, that positive aim to make it through to the semi, he'll, you know, ideally you need to buy your longer recovery. So group 2 or 3 for me would be a better option.
I got the feeling that his ambition was to make the semi-finals, which he hasn't managed so far this year, and therefore group 4-5 would probably be the weaker groups.
Yes, and that would enable him to potentially make it through that far. If you're aiming for the final, I think it's best to go group 2 and 3. Group 1 is going to be a super loaded group, almost like a final. We saw that in the women's field. Often that is the case. And often, as we said, 4 athletes can make it through from heat 1 into the final. Oh, the lean wasn't quite there. Quick reaction, but not quick enough. 1-2-1 going down. From Moldova, Winter Sports Association. And, you know, people just joining us will be thinking, well, this is the World Championship. Some of these athletes don't look like they're moving as World Championships athletes do. And I think it's great that the FIS invite so many nations to come to the World Championships to show their strength and to show what they've got and inspire them to continue with their training, with their structures, but to come back again much stronger.
But you're hardly going to grow the roots of cross-country skiing in the Bahamas.
It's difficult to do that in the Bahamas, but you know what? Look at Andrew Musgrave, Andrew Young from a club in Scotland which has very, very little snow and snow nearby. You know, you can do it in roller skiing. But I am with you, the Bahamas, difficult.
Well, one of the big surprises in the qualification was Logan Hanneman of the USA. Haven't seen him on the World Cup this year. Here he is.
Here we are with Alex Harvey. Congratulations on a major upturn in the prologue. How'd you feel out there?
It was good. I felt good in the warm-up, so I knew I was going to be faster than in Kongi last weekend. Yeah, I'm happy. It's a good start.
And how do you feel about the temperature in the track? Is it still really, really fast? Because it's really getting hot here out here in Seefeld.
Yeah, it's getting really hot, but the snow is staying fairly compact, and the times are close. So, yeah, I think it's staying fast for now.
Great. Good luck. Have fun.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, we're here with Andrew Young of Great Britain. Great prologue, but more importantly, happy birthday, big man.
Thank you very much. Beginning to get old, got some grey hair coming in and everything, so I feel like an old man now.
How's the course skiing out there? It's that hill is a real doozy early, but the course looks like it's running pretty fast.
Yeah, it's a tough course. I raced pretty badly here last year. I thought I had a bad day, but today felt pretty similar. It's a tough course. I actually felt a lot like racing in China with the air really burning the lungs here, so it's a tough course, that hill.
Do you think you're feeling that in your lungs because so much work comes early?
Yeah, maybe. And also the downhill is really technical, so you don't really get much rest at all. It's a hard course.
Great, Andrew. Well, we're really looking forward to cheering you on in the quarterfinals and beyond.
Yeah, thanks, Evan. Catch you guys.
I'm here with Logan Hanneman, the big Alaskan. Congratulations on a great prologue, bib 51. You're sitting 20th right now. How does it feel to be safely qualified for the World Championship Sprint?
It's pretty nuts. I mean, last weekend was my first time making it into the heats, and so I wasn't sure what to expect coming to World Champs with all the country's A teams here now, but yeah, pretty happy. A little out of breath, but
yeah, what a great effort from Logan Hanneman. He did actually race in Konya, of course. but still very, very surprising to see him do so well, and starting from bib number 51.
He was a late number. Whether that was a disadvantage, I'm not sure. It's certainly getting warmer now, so the snow is becoming a lot wetter, and I don't think we'll see the times as we have seen here, 2:55.57, when we go into the heats. And it was great to see Andrew Young and James earlier, of course.
Well, they've just changed the order of the qualifiers. Victor Thorn of Sweden has now been awarded the fastest time, 2:55.57, just 100th quicker than Sergei Ustiagov. I think that takes a little bit of pressure off Sergei Ustiagov. Always good to race in bib number 2, whereas not so good in number 1. Now, I spoke during the women's race, Mike, the fact that the first 3 in qualifying very seldom get on the podium in the race for real. In the men's, 2 out of 3 on every World Cup this season from the top 3 go through and get on the podium.
Well, that's a very interesting survey. But today I've just got a feeling as 1:37. That was a miracle recovery, but it didn't last long. So yes, looking further at the times, Patrick. I think on most courses, when you see bib number 1, 2, 3, there's normally a separation to the rest of the course. Today, it's so tight, you've got 0.9 of a second from 1st to 6th. So I'm not sure that that outcome today, where at least 2 of those who are setting the fastest times in qualifying will make it through onto the podium. I think we may see something different today.
And often we talk about the tactics, sitting in behind athletes to get a rest, but that doesn't really work here because the uphill is so steep that there's virtually no slipstream effect on the uphill climb. On the downhill, certainly, and coming into the finish, your position is going to be crucial. Is there anyone in the field who can break clear?
Well, I was thinking, we heard Andrew Young, we've heard a lot of the athletes talking about the steep climb, and I think Klæbo will be one of the few people in this race who will break the field. He'll try and break the field early when it comes to, say, the final.
On the first climb or the second?
On the first big climb. And yes, and everyone's legs are so tired off the top of that climb. That's why it is a fast descent, 60 kilometers an hour. It is technical. You then risk, as we're seeing some of the athletes here suffering on the second descent, you know, you do risk very fatigued legs when you smash that first hill at maximum. But I think it's only Klæbo, Pellegrino who could detach themselves from the field, and I think that's the point they'll go. They'll try and break early.
And what about Victor Thorn? I mean, he's had an astonishing prologue to qualify in top spot.
He has. He's had a fantastic, and 1/100th of a second now ahead of Sergei Ustiagov. Interesting. He looked good, but you sense that Victor Thorn pushed so hard in that time trial. Some of the other big names, Finn Hagen-Krogh, didn't look as exhausted. He kept it kind of within himself. So I think we saw the absolute best from Victor Thorn there, and I think some of the rest behind him were saving just a little. Not much, but just a little.
Yeah, Victor Thorn's only made the semi-final on 1 occasion so far this year, which would indicate just what you're saying. We have seen the best of him today.
That's my feeling. I hope not, and it may not work like that. He may be super confident that he set the fastest time and thinks, and I hope will maybe back off with a different strategy, tuck in behind the faster athletes.
Now, Andrew Young's interview, I lost count of how many times he said tough, tough, hard, hard, brutal, brutal. You know, he just underlining how hard this course is. Technically, it doesn't look that difficult. The downhill is technical because it's fast.
It is very fast, and then you have to work in the stadium before the final climb. We don't often see such a long and flat. You would think is easy, but you've got to tuck low to cut through the wind faster. Super compress your skis out to the side, so you're loading your legs in a very different way. There's not a lot of tuck down free skating that we see anymore, but we've got an awful lot of that today, so it's super loading the legs only before the final climb and then back down into the descent to the finish line. So I think that's why it's hurting and it's feeling like the toughest course in the world for most of these athletes today.
And if you were coaching the 2 British lads, what would your words of advice be in terms of tactics for the heats?
The tactics, my vision would be to say the tactic has to be set up to make it through to the semi, and then really then you decide on another strategy maybe for the final. I would say get into third place, live with the pace, stay with the pace, and leave it till the final, coming round that top end and into the final 200. Try and get wind drafting, try and get economy of effort. Prior to that, I wouldn't want them to lead it. Absolutely wouldn't want them to be in first place. Second is fine, third is great.
Well, we've seen quite a few falls, and I'm just wondering whether the officials are going to go out and repair the track, Mike, because on the 60-kilometre-an-hour sections of the course, you don't want a couple of dents made by knees. You certainly want it as smooth as possible. Do you think they'll take a piston bully round just before the final?
Do you know, I think they will make sure that none of those holes in the track, if you like, are going to create any issues. And we can see with the athletes falling how wet the snow has become. It's splashing up very, very wet, sticky snow on the base of your skis now, so a huge drag factor.
Well, here you have the qualification with everyone across the line now. Thorn, Ustiagov, Kroh are the three fastest. Halvorsen, Klæbo are up there. Federico Pellegrino, the defending champion, looking good in 6th place, just 0.92 behind. Then you've got Iversen, Mikey, De Fabiani, Lucas Schanover, I think the best of the French in terms of his chances this afternoon. And the Americans have done very well. Simeon Hamilton, the fastest of their qualifiers. But what about the British? James Clooney goes through in 12th place, 3:09 off the pace, and Andrew Young qualifying in 17th, 3:97. They'll have to raise their game just a fraction if they're going to make it through into the last 12. Well, that wraps up the qualifying runs here in Seefeld, and of course it will be the women's heats that come first after the little rest they get before the real race. Well, the conditions remain perfect, Mike, and we're looking forward to the ladies' first round. Let's just catch up with the studio before we have that.
So Viktor Thorn, the winner of the prologue, 1/100th of a second ahead of Sergei Ustiagov. They used to be tied, but then they changed it, so it's a Swedish victory.
Yeah,
what do you think about the prologue?
Oh, they had to go real deep into the into the photo finish to really find out who actually won. I thought it was incredibly tight. I mean, it is a harder course. We heard a lot of athletes talk about how hard the course is. It's burning the lungs. You have a lot of work early. It's just kind of interesting that it's so close in the top 6.
Because you see Sweden on first, on fourth, and Klæbo, who usually always wins the prologue. Is it... how do you explain that? Because he always wins it.
Yeah, that's a tough one to explain in one sense. I mean, if you look at Lahti, which is another kind of, well, a championship course a few weeks ago in the World Cup, he demoed that prologue and won by over 4 seconds. And today, he's back a little bit, but it's still only 0.91 seconds, so that's really not that much. He's obviously skiing really well, but like you said, it's not often we see Klæbo not winning the prologue and not winning it convincingly.
So you won't press the panic button yet for Klæbo?
I'm not pressing the panic button yet, but I have to admit I was surprised to see that Klæbo was back in 5th right now. But at the same time, you know, Sergei Ustiagov, he's a big game player. Viktor Thorn, major surprise for me. Absolutely, I'm surprised. And Finn Hagen Kroh, he's really come up the last few weeks. To see him sitting 3rd right now, pretty impressive.
Yeah, but you also saw Federico Pellegrino, 1/100th of a second behind Klæbo. Those were the two favorites. You picked them out this morning. They're going to be 1 and 2. You don't know which order, but you still there?
Yeah, well, you know what? They're top 6, right? And top 6 race in the final. So, really, the reality is, in the prologue, all those guys are so close. You know, it's lucky you sneezed in one sense. It's that close. So I think they're not in at all any sort of danger further on for the race. They both look good. Of course, Klæbo looked a little slower, but that's hard to see with the naked eye. So I think in the heats we'll see a different story.
All right, let's hear from the winner today, the winner of the prologue, Viktor Thorn.
Quite a surprise here at the qualification. You were exactly same time as Sergei Ustiagov. What does that mean now mentally as well for you going into the heats?
When I crossed the finish line, I was really tired, so I didn't think that I was going to win the prologue, but it's good because it's my first win in the prologue, so that means I think I am in good shape, and I hope that I will do personal best today.
Do you have any tactics now for the upcoming heats?
Yeah, but it's a secret, so I can tell you later.
Of course you can. Good luck for that, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, 3 of 4 Swedes through. Start number 1, Theo Pettersson, is out. Is that surprising?
Yeah, that is surprising to me. He's had a really, really rough season. It's sad to say, for he's a major champion of this sport, and in sprinting especially. He won the overall sprint globe, the best sprinter in the world in 2012, and then of course everybody remembers his silver medal in Sochi at the Olympics. So to see him not only get knocked out but be so far from qualifying, of course that's disappointing, but the Swedes have a lot to celebrate. I mean, Kalle Halvorsen, he's been involved in a little bit of controversy with some kind of ridiculous videos, but didn't seem to affect him. He's sitting right up there, so it'll be Sweden will be happy.
Yeah, so right now you have 4 Russians. Kotsbulchunov just made top 30. They're through 4 Norwegians, 2 British skiers, actually, and 3 or 4 Swedes. The Russians, after this prologue, what do you think about them?
Oh yeah, I mean the Russians are strong. The Russia is strong, and today they showed that strength. And Ustiugov winning, or I guess now he's 0.01 behind in the prologue in second, and Gleb Brativic, who's had a really strong sprint season this year. Bolshunov, little surprised he's back there in 29th. I wasn't expecting him to be in the top 10 for the qualification, but he really squeaked through.
Okay, and now they're going to select the heat. If you were an athlete and you can choose, would you have heat 1 anyway because you have more rest?
Oh, it's so hard to know. I mean, I'd want heat 1, but can Pellegrino, Klæbo, Iversen, Ustiugov not pick that one?
No, then take another one. Okay, let's look at the heat selection.
So here we go with the crucial heat selection. Simeon Hamilton first to go. Shanavar wants heat 3 as well. I think they're all trying to avoid the big names, thinking that Klæbo and Pellegrino will both go in heat number 1, which they often do. De Fabiani goes for group 3 as well. So the top 11 going in reverse order from the qualification, which is always interesting, Mike, and it gives the those who are fastest in the qualifying you know, a bit more of a choice rather than when they went first.
It does, and it's interesting how they're all going so far for groups 3 and groups 4. Pellegrino brave enough to go for group 2.
Now, what about Klæbo?
Always group 1.
Always group 1. Why not? Why not? And give yourself the rest. Pellegrino, I think, probably trying to avoid the Norwegian first time around. Halvorsen goes in group 2. The Sweden will be waiting to see where Victor Thorn goes.
Finnhagen, yeah, I think that's a good idea. He's got the track speed to be confident to take group 1. Ustiugov, will it be group 1? He's just checking. He's fearless, group 1, of course.
He's obviously confident. Very confident. What about James Clune? He will be directly after Victor Thorn. I'm sort of thinking he might opt for 5.
Interesting, Victor Thorn going for group 3. He's wanting an easy ride. He's obviously got a game plan, a strategy to make it, obviously, onto the podium.
Well, Heat 1 is looking pretty powerful. Number 2, 3 and 5 from qualifying, all in there. And...
The problem, Patrick, if you look at it as a problem, bib 5, 3 and 2, so track time, absolute speed athletes. The problem is you've got traffic jamming there, so maybe technically Ustiugov could have gone for group 2 to maybe have an easier ride.
Well, if you think you're going to go through as a lucky loser, group 1 might be the place to go. Clune goes for heat number 2. Brave decision from him.
I was hoping he'd go 2 or 3.
That's very positive indeed. He's got Score alongside him, who is like lightning at the moment. Redvik is the first man to go for heat 5, and I think we'll see quite a few athletes now opting for group 5.
Andrew Young is going in 2. That's Juve going for heat 4. Youngi's coming next after Svensson. There he is, Svensson.
Looking for a place in the semi-finals.
Birthday boy, what's he going to do? Easy ride in 5 or 4, or is he going for 3?
He's gone 5. He's gone 5.
Good
and that
man.
might be a very, very good chance of going through in the top 2 in that group.
Excellent. Now they're having to just eye it up. Where's the safe place? Alex Harvey taking heat 5 as well.
Well, for someone who's medalled twice in this event, you might have thought that Harvey would fancy Group 2. Not many people going for Group 1 now, Mike. Ustiakov, Krokhlebo. There's one slot in there for a lucky loser, because you can almost guarantee that is going to be a very, very quick heat. So it might be a good way through, but it might be number 29 and 30 who end up going in Group number 1.
Baptiste Gros opting for Heat 2. That is still a very good heat with 4, 6, 12, 13 and 22.
Hakkala into 5.
Yes, so 6 athletes in each of these heats.
Varanau, surprise qualifier from Belarus, going in Heat 4. Only 6 in a heat, remember. So Heat 5 is now full. And I still think that Andrew Young has a very good chance of going through from there. Clunet is going to have a tough task. Halverson, Pellegrino score. That's going to be a quick heat as well. Bolger, Zelga, Shard, all in heat number 1. And so Bolshinov, where's he going to go? Is he going to go with Pellegrino? I think surely he's going to go 3.
I like that Bolger, Zelger, Shad taking Group 1 there, thinking as we'll get dragged along and hopefully qualify as a lucky loser.
And Renauget, the last to choose, goes in Group number 2. So that completes the group selection for the men's sprint event, 2:30, the start of the women's knockout phases.
Yeah, we'll be back from Seefeld in 16 minutes. And it's time for the knockout stages. Hope to see you then.